Hey, it's Carrie Flatla here for this week's Friday Fire at RE/MAX Real Estate Lethbridge and Carrie Flatla and Associates. So, a couple weeks ago we talked about the anatomy of a real property report. There were three main pieces to the RPR: the survey, the surveyor's letter, and the municipal compliance letter. One question that comes up often, and I shouldn't call it a question, I should call it an unknown, because if the realtor doesn't know to ask and look at these things or isn't willing to have this discussion with the homeowner, nobody knows it's a problem until it's a crisis before closing day. So there are reasons that your survey could be out of date, and I will explain why. Section 10 of the purchase contract in the fine print says, as part of the closing documents, that the seller's lawyer will provide to the buyer's lawyer, guess what? RPR with evidence of municipal compliance. It says closing documents will include an RPR showing the current improvements on the property according to the Alberta Land Surveyors Association Manual of Standard Practice, with evidence of municipal compliance or non-conformance, and confirming the seller's warranties about the land and buildings. Warranties as referenced in Section 6 of the contract. So why does that matter? Who cares? Here's my RPR, whatever, right? No. Specifically, sheds, decks, and fences come up again and again and again. So a lot of people seem to instinctively know, hey, if I built a garage, I need an updated survey because it's a great big building that you've added to your house on the property. But what about some of these other little things that people do to their property over the years? Well, a fence is considered an improvement. A deck is an improvement generally. Talk about that in a minute. And sheds may be an improvement. And there's all kinds of qualifiers, so let me explain. Fences. Here's a common example. I bought my house from a builder. The builder provided an RPR, which a lot of them aren't even doing anymore, so they're passing that cost on to you. But let's just say the builder gave you the RPR for the property when you purchased the home. Guess what? Most new construction homes as sold do not have a fence. So the fence will not show on the RPR. When you go to sell that new house 5 years later, the fence is not on the RPR. Your RPR is now considered out of date. In Lethbridge, lawyers many years ago agreed that they probably wouldn't argue about fences not on the RPR. Part of the reason for that is because the city of Lethbridge on their compliance letter does not certify the location of fences unless there's an encroachment, etc., etc. So the long and short of it is, if the fences are missing from your real property report, could be a problem. It depends on the buyer and the buyer's lawyer. If we get a buyer's lawyer from Calgary, for example, no offense, Calgary, they will fight all day to enforce the need for fences on the RPR. Lawyers in Lethbridge, it's kind of a mixed bag. According to the letter of the contract, the fences should be marked on the RPR. Are you confused yet? Good, okay. What it all means is we can't guarantee that you're gonna be able to close without a holdback if the fence is not on the RPR. We can try and negotiate it and disclose that the RPR is out of date. When we get an offer, doesn't always go your way, Mr. Homeowner. And I'm a pretty good negotiator. Just know that there could be expensive holdbacks at closing. Decks also come up because people like to add big fancy decks onto their property, whether it's new construction or they're doing a big renovation involving their backyard. Well, if a deck in Lethbridge is under 2 feet tall off the ground, it's considered landscaping, but if it's 2 feet high or bigger, it's considered a structure that requires a permit. Like, you see where this is going? If your big fancy new deck is not on your real property report, You're possibly going to need an updated RPR. This could cause a problem at closing. How about sheds? Oh, we love to argue about sheds in Lethbridge. So lots of people have little sheds, big sheds, plastic sheds, concrete sheds, all kinds of sheds they add to their property without really thinking about where the shed is located. Is it too close to the property line? Is it too close to the house per fire code? Is it a movable shed? Does it need a permit if it's a permanent shed, etc., etc., etc.? The surveyor will generally mark sheds on the property, but especially if it's a permanent shed, they are required to put permanent sheds on the survey. Did you pull a permit? Did you put it in the right spot? Are you following the setbacks? Lots of sheds don't comply. Try to deal with this when you get an offer. Better still, try to deal with this by making sure your real property report is up to date. If it's a movable shed, generally, and there are exceptions, but generally it's not a big deal. Just make sure that you're selling it as is, where is, or you're planning to move it so that it's in compliance. I mean, there is not a black and white answer here to most of this stuff. So this is why when we sign listing paperwork, I put in highlight on the listing agreement, you will provide an RPR, and I make you sign that section of the listing agreement. You'll provide an updated RPR. I know I'm harping on this a lot, but it is coming up constantly. Okay, like homeowners that have had their house for 10 years and they don't even remember getting a proper RPR at closing, or the document they're giving me is like a photocopy with the letter of compliance missing, or there's none of the improvements are on the survey, so they have to get a new one. Guess what? The surveyors right now are 6 to 8 weeks behind. So if we get a quick closing in our accepted offer, we have to try and close without an updated RPR. It is problematic. And so then we possibly have to negotiate a holdback so you won't get the full purchase price of your property on closing day, etc., etc., etc. We can deal with all of these things, but we need to deal with them ahead of time. That's the main thing. It's okay if it's confusing. Just know this is really, really important document. Go looking for it, dig for it. They are $750 to $800 to get a new one, $500 or $600 for an update. It matters a lot. The pergola that you built in your backyard matters, and it might have needed a permit. Okay? I've just seen this so many times. You don't want to hold up or cause litigation or issues with the sale of your home over this paperwork. I know hundreds of dollars seems crazy, but surveyors need to get paid too. The city needs their pound of flesh for the compliance letter, and there is reasons we have these documents. The lawyers need a way to know and have evidence of what you're buying, i.e. land and buildings. Okay? Lawyers don't come to showings with us, and I'm sure they don't want to. So that's my latest on decks, fences, sheds, pergolas, and real property reports. If you have any questions or you're getting ready to sell your house, give me a call or shoot me a text, 382-7335, or visit us at carrieflatlow.com. Have a terrific weekend. Take care.